Okay, I'm going to call this meeting of the Lawndale City Council to order. I'm going to ask the city clerk to please give us the roll call. Madam City Clerk.
Okay, good evening. Mayor Pro Tem Rhonda Hoffman-Gorman.
Here.
Councilmember Cuevas.
Here.
Councilmember Suarez.
Here.
Councilmember Kearney.
Here.
Mayor Paul.
Here.
All are present.
Thank you, Madam. I'm going to ask Councilmember Mr. Pat Kearney to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please rise. Cup your hat to be a word and a half. Place your right hand over your heart and repeat along with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Okay, first of all, I want to wish everyone a Happy New Year. Happy New Year, everyone. It's good to see everyone back for the new year. Next item on our agenda is oral communications. Seeing that there's none in the audience, we will forego oral communications and comments from the council if without objections. The next item on our agenda is administration. Item number 1, discussion of possible adoption of resolution allowing the city council meetings to be held remotely, consistent with the said bill.
Do we have
Yes.
any written comments? Do we know?
We wouldn't have any written comments
Okay.
at this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. All right, but thanks for bringing that to our attention. So this item is a discussion of the possible adoption of a resolution that allows city council meetings to be held remotely, which would be consistent with Assembly Bill 361.
Yes.
It's pretty clear, the Assembly Bill. You want to give a report on this, or just sum it up? Or
No, I think you summed it up.
Yeah. So in short, Assembly Bill 361 requires us to actually pass a resolution allowing us to have remote meetings, and so that's the said item. Any discussion on this item?
Some of us work from our kitchen, so is there any way that we could have the chamber or an office to work here, with our laptops, a Zoom meeting, but working on City Hall? 'Cause
Yeah, how you do it is we can do the details in that. It don't necessarily have to be part of this resolution, but whether you do it from a room at City Hall or in the comforts of your own home or, in the basement of your parents' some house, or
Okay, and
that's really up to you.
also, it's only for a month, or as long as they extend it, or
You're right.
how long is it gonna be?
Mr. City Attorney, give you clarification on that.
Yes, but before we have Mr. City Attorney or Mr. Sabias speak about it, I do think it's a good idea for us to have just a little bit of discussion about it, because it will be a different process from what we did the last time, based on this new legislation. And so I'll let Mr. Murphy speak on the legislation, and then Matt talk a little bit about the process, how it will work for us.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, council. So a couple things about this legislation. This allows remote participation in meetings. It doesn't require it. There are cities where 1, 2, 3, 4, all 5 members will be at the dais at a given meeting, and then the next meeting, maybe 2 of them can't be there. Somebody may test positive. Somebody may have a family member that they're worried about because they're a close contact, and so they call in. But it allows for that flexibility, which is really important. To answer your question, ma'am, the resolution lasts for 30 days and then has to be continued. The other 2 cities that I work with have been continuing it strictly for that flexibility. One city actually has stayed remote the entire time, which is their right. The other city came back full, but since they've adopted this resolution, there have been 3 different meetings where one council member called in. It also provides, and Ms. Felton said this, 2 slightly different rules that we need to talk about. And the first is, when you are remote, you have to have your camera on. You can mute yourself. Usually we want you to mute yourself, not because we don't want you to hear you, or we don't want to hear you, but because there could be feedback. So we ask that you mute, and then you unmute when you want to talk. we'll all see the little light change. It'll be obvious that you've unmuted, and the mayor, I know will be able to work with that. But the other item is the way that the public can participate. They have to have a link to be able to Zoom in or Google Groups or whatever form we use. They have to be able to come in. They also have to be able to call in. We don't have to accept written comments that are read into the record anymore, which is what we did under the previous law. This is just, they have to be able to see it. And so because they're seeing it live on Zoom, live on the broadcast, they need to see your faces, and then they need to be able to interact. There are a couple little issues that I'll work with the mayor on in terms of holding public comment open for a little while. One thing is the public has to have a chance to call in. So they hear a staff report, and then they get we usually call it about a minute. Maybe it's while the council is talking, but we say, okay, we need some time. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, sorry, I was going to wait, but I just had a question.
Sure.
Are they required to show their video, or is it just the council? 'Cause-
Just you. They have the constitutional right to see you as you're considering an item. We ask them to, when it's their turn to speak, to turn their video on so you can see them and you can engage with them, but they don't have to. And in fact, some of them will be calling in. They won't actually be Zooming in. So they do have more flexibility than you do. But that's the one big change, is that interaction with the public. I'll turn it over to Matt, but I will say, we talked about this at length yesterday in the management team meeting, and I'll give it to him, but he really knows what he's doing with this, and I think will take care of you very well.
Yes, I'll talk more about the practical application of it. So if no one feels comfortable at their own home, or say you have, really bad Wi-Fi connection or something happens, we can always make accommodations here at, City Hall or the community center. Also, we'll be using Teams. There is a, feature on Teams where you can just blur out your background if you don't want anyone seeing your house. I completely understand that. Having done these, I don't want people to see my messy office, and understandable. As far as the public comment goes, public will receive a link as well as a phone number on each agenda. They're able to call in or log in whenever. You won't see them and you won't hear them until the organizer, which would be myself or whoever is running the meeting, activates them. The way I'm going to activate them, and I'll give clear instruction in the agenda on a separate link, is they'll have to raise their hand. And it's an easy kind of step. It's easier on Teams itself to raise your hand than it is on the phone. I think on the phone you have to press like *5. And then it gives me the ability to flip on their camera, flip on their mic, and activate both. Once their public comment is done, they'll be disactivated and you won't see them. Same goes with staff. Staff won't be raising their hand. They'll kind of just jump in as you are asking questions or requiring more information on a subject.
Will staff be on camera?
Staff will jump in on camera and mic, and that's really to conserve bandwidth. Like I said, this is going on broadcast. There'd be probably a little more people jumping onto our meetings, so as not to slow anything down and look all kind of funny and pixelated on the screen. It's just to preserve that kind of meeting continuity.
I have a question, clarification. So when we continue the, after the 30 days, can we do that at a virtual meeting, or do we have to meet in person to continue that?
Really good question, and it actually has come up in one of, in a city I'll be visiting on Thursday night. They canceled the meeting, and they're now at like 33 days. So they actually have to come in and do it. But as long as you're within the 30 days, you can all be virtual and continue to push it forward.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Can I ask a question of Matthew? Is there any way that you could listening to what Surly has said, any way that you could give us a City of Lawndale background?
Yeah, I can definitely look into it. I think
And tell us how to
Zoom
set
is a
that
lot
up?
easier. I have to look at Teams. I know Zoom was a lot easier with a background.
I guess my
Yeah,
question
Zoom
is how, I guess I'm trying to understand, since it's our first time doing it, what if someone just really has difficulty calling in and they miss the time frame? Are we obligated if they message or team message to give them a comment after, or how do we go around that?
So from what I understand, we're going to give the public comment period for general public comment and for specific items a little more time. We were discussing, 60 seconds, 90 seconds, as well as I'm going to leave the chat function available for residents so that they can, if all else fails, they could type something in.
And I will just say this, legally, under the Brown Act, you don't have to give them the chance to comment, but it's going to be the mayor's prerogative. I mean, especially if it's something you've already made a decision on, you may or may not want to hear it. You may say, we'd like to hear your comment, but you should know the decision's already been made. But really, it's the mayor's prerogative, and especially as we're starting this process, most mayors have been fine to give a little leeway. Somebody will come in, and in between the end of a future item and the start of the next one, they'll say, okay, somebody wanted to comment, we're going to give them the chance. It doesn't affect your deliberations because you're done, but it at least respects them, which we certainly want to respect anybody who tries to call in.
Very good. Any more questions on this item?
I have a comment.
Okay, any comments on this item?
My comment is just, I don't know if everybody has thought of it in this perspective. I know I'm in healthcare, so I have a different view on a lot of things. But currently, LA County is growing in this virus daily, larger than the population of the city of Lawndale. When we put that into perspective, that is huge. And we've been that way for nearly a week, where we are growing over the size of what we have residents here. And it's because of that reason I'm all about wanting to be in the council chambers with our constituents in front of us. I think it's their right to be here with us as we make decisions on their behalf. But I think in this time, I think it's safer that we move to go into a safe environment for all of us.
Thank you for those remarks.
Sounds like a motion to me.
You have did you want to add something else?
No, I was going to say,
Sorry.
it sounds like a
Okay.
motion to me.
I have to disagree with Mayor Pro Tem. I think this is going to peak at the end of this month. I think it's because of all the traveling going on. I think we should still, for the ones that want to meet here, and the ones who want to do Zoom. But I'm going to be here because I believe it's our right, the residents' right to be here, to see our face here. I don't know about the rest of you, but
I do agree. I know we have to be careful, but we are taking the precaution that we need for ourselves. I'll probably be on site.
so we
Okay.
can have three
Thinking
here, two.
hybrid?
Yeah. So, Mr. Attorney,
Well, what's your
I
question?
mean,
Are we discussing hybrid meetings where you can
I
come?
think you did this
and-
one.
That is completely allowed.
Yeah, that's-
Once you adopt this, then you can work out the logistics of what different
Oh,
people
I
want to
see.
do.
Yeah.
If
So
you
we're
don't-
only talking about,
Right, if you,
adopting
Okay.
it,
yeah,
and then
if you
we-
don't adopt it, then you're all stuck coming in, as is the public. I counted tonight 15 open chairs, so people other than that have to stand outside. By adopting this, you give yourselves that flexibility. People with greater health concerns, public
Right.
or yourselves, or even staff, can Zoom in. Those who want to be here, again, consistent with health and safety, as a staff, we can make that work for you.
Okay.
And I think
Okay.
it's smarter too, if one of us have it, that we can still participate.
Yeah, yeah. If
So do we need
you're
a motion for
unfortunate
this?
to get corona, you can still participate if you feel up to
Do
it.
we need a motion?
Yes, we
I will make
would
a
require a
motion to-
motion.
I'll second.
Well, I didn't get it out to read it.
So what was?
Oh, I wanted to read it.
What was the motion?
Okay.
I assume the motion is
Okay.
to adopt the resolution allowing us to have on remote meetings pursuant to Assembly Bill 361. And I assume that was the second. Right. Is there any discussion on the motion that's been made and seconded? Any discussion? Okay, I'm gonna ask the Madam City Clerk, can you please give us take the vote?
As soon as you vote, Mr. Mayor.
As soon as I vote?
All right, on
Bam.
item number 1, motion passes unanimously.
Right. Thank you. Okay, so we do have 3 closed sessions, I should say. And I'm going to ask the city attorney to give the provisions of the closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'll be going into closed session under anticipated litigation, Government Code Sections 94956.9 D2 and 93, for conference with the labor negotiator under Government Code 54957.6, and public employee appointment 54957B regarding appointment of a city manager. Thank you all.
Closed session, I'm going to ask the city attorney to give the report of the closed session.
Thank you, Mr.
City
Mayor.
Attorney.
The council was briefed on all 3 items in closed session. No reportable action was taken tonight.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the item to adjourn. City Hall will be closed on the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday on the next regularly scheduled meeting date. Therefore, the next meeting of the Lawndale City Council will be held at 6:30 p.m. on Tuesday, January 18th, 2022. In these here council chambers. It's now 8:25 and this meeting is adjourned.